Who are you? And where are you going? What do you want?
Hello and welcome to Trusts and Estates Weekly. I'm your host, Kevin Bemmel, and I'm here every Monday at 10 a.m. Pacific time to talk about estate planning and trust and probate administration, primarily from the standpoint of professionals like myself. As for those of you who watched the show before, you know that I am a professional fiduciary. I do the actual administration, but also for those of you who are dealing with your own personal situation and you want to understand more about it, you want to be able to communicate more clearly with your advisors so that in the end, all your estate plan and how it's handled can all be done better. So today I'm going to be talking about, I'm going to be going inside, if you will. Ooh, inside, right? Probate and Trust TV. Full disclosure, this is something that I started a few months ago. It's a YouTube channel, and it's designed to aggregate all of the best content on estate planning and trust and probate administration that can be found on YouTube. So some of the contributors I know myself, they've been guests on my show. Others are people I have never met, but they do such great content that it's worth your knowing about it. So while of course I want you to continue watching Trust and Estates Weekly, it would be foolish of me to suggest that I'm the only voice out there. There are many voices out there. Honestly, they're primarily lawyers. I haven't found too many other allied professionals, accountants, whatever, who are doing content specifically on probate. The one exception is my friend Bill Gross, who's one of the top probate real estate agents in the country. But nonetheless, it's good to get multiple perspectives, number one, because it's hard for any one individual to know everything there is to know or to convey everything there is to convey. There's always minimally nuances, number one. And number two, not everybody agrees about how probate and estate planning and such should best be handled. And when all is said and done, the way that an estate plan should come together, or the way that a trust or a probate should be administrated, should be specific to the situation of the individuals that are affected by it. And so while it's common to give generalized advice, which is of course what I do on this show, or not even advice really, general guidance, general education, it's not that when it comes down to your specific situation, you really need to work with advisors that you trust, that you like. So, and just as if you watch the title crawl below me, you'll notice that I say that this is general education basically, and your specific you need to look at your specific situation in conjunction with your advisors. Okay, so the idea of all of the content providers is to enable people to on the client side be able to understand what do they need to do, who are the right people for them with whom to work, and on the professional side, what are the gaps in our knowledge, what are we missing, and how do we how do we close those gaps so that we can do the best possible job for our clients. So if you see over my shoulder here, I always do it backwards, right? So, these are the Way to Wow shows. That's what you're watching right now. But then below it is PTTV, Probate and Trust TV. And so I'm going to take you to that channel now. And let's see, here we go. I'm going to share my screen. and hopefully it'll be easy to find. Yep, here it is. Okay. All righty, and yeah, let's enlarge this. Okay, so this is the YouTube channel, Probate and Trust TV, and I have just a few subscribers now. As I said, I've just got the channel started a little while ago, and there are several playlists on the channel, and it's broken down into subjects. So there's estate planning, which is general estate planning. There's probate and trust administration. And you can see that I'm a fairly frequent contributor to that subject. And then there's living trusts and ILITs, which are in life insurance trusts and other types of trusts. So you see all that there. There are other types of legal, accounting, and tax matters. Okay. And then there's one for real estate and probates and trusts. And why do I single out real estate as an asset? Well, because oftentimes real estate comprises the largest portion of a particular estate, be it a trust or a probate. For the vast majority of people, real estate is going to be their largest asset. Okay, and then finally, there are complex planning and administration matters, and these could be in any number of categories. So you see here the complexities of probate litigation, probate and fiduciary litigation. Here's an estate with a closely held business. So again, that's a more complex situation than the typical estate or trust would have, because most people are don't have that kind of asset in their estate. Okay, another complex issue is planning for special needs. So if you have a child who is unable to take care of him or herself, or has some sort of illness that it's not going to go away, it's going to be something that is going to be costly for the rest of the child's life. So these require special planning and special needs, right? Hence the name, special needs, right? And oftentimes they're accommodated through something called a special needs trust. Okay, you can see, by the way, these are some of the most viewed episodes because, again, people are looking to stay up to date. And so professionals who come here, they know more of the routine, the routine issues, but some of these complex issues less so. So who are the contributors to Probate and Trust TV? Well, there's, of course, me through the Way to Wow shows. I mentioned my friend Bill Gross, who's one of the top probate real estate agents in the country. There's Paul Rabelais. He is an estate planning attorney based in Louisiana. Paul has been a guest on my show. Alan Gassman, the Burton Law Firm, Eville and Associates, and ELG Planning, Cunningham Law, and then Kristen House. So these are the regular contributors to Probate and Trust TV, and they are the ones who take the time to stay abreast of all of these issues and put together videos, programs, so that we all can benefit from it. So, and each of us has our style. You can see my thumbnails look different than pretty much everybody else's. The Talai law firm, he's one of the newer ones. That's why he's not down on the list below. He has a bit of a whimsical aspect, to to his thumbnails and to his presentation, and others have have their own takes. So it's a good thing to look through and also find people that you find engaging, right? Here's an interesting one. This is Kristen Howe, um, on her show Absolute Trust Talk. So she talks about Jimmy Buffett's $275 million trust battle, and the co-trustees are fighting about this, right? So it's all very interested and designed to help you out. So let me go ahead and stop sharing. Okay, there you go. So why am I doing this? Well, because this is going to be a short show, I'm going to take a quick break, and then we'll come back and I'll explain that to you. When life brings unexpected changes, managing inherited property shouldn't add to your stress. Magnum Properties specializes in probate and trust real estate management. We handle the complexities while you focus on what matters most. From property maintenance to tenant relations, from legal compliance to maximizing value, we're your trusted partner through every step. Magnum Properties, Inc., turning property challenges into peace of mind. Call us today at 213-264-4396 or visit magnumprops.com. Okay, so this is Trust and Estates Weekly, and I'm your host, Kevin Bemmel, and I'm talking about Probate and Trust TV, a new YouTube channel that I started a couple of months ago, maybe a little bit longer, or maybe not quite that long ago. Anyway, and so I showed you the channel before the break, and a good question would be, why am I doing this? In fact, my friend Bill Gross asked me, he said, why are you doing this? Why are you taking your time, right, to do this? And the simple answer is because we're all so busy that to hunt through YouTube, or for that matter, any other source for good information, and in particular up-to-date information, is very time consuming. So I have not found anywhere on the internet that you can go where you can get up-to-date information on estate planning and trust and probate administration. Now, there are great places you can go for coursework. So, for example, Kaplan has got quite a bit of quite a number of good courses that relate to estate planning and trust and estate administration, whether it's understanding how life insurance plays into it, whether it's the course they do on estate planning. I've taken a number of their courses and they're very good. However, and this is no criticism of Kaplan, they don't have the ability to stay up to date in real time, right? Their courses are meant to fulfill things like license qualification or continuing education, right? And they take a lot of time to make sure their courses are thorough, that they're well researched, well planned out. Okay, they don't have the sort of flexibility isn't quite the right word, but they don't have the nimbleness that if for example, just a couple of weeks after the most recent tax legislation was passed, my friend Bill Gross had a guest on to talk about, well, what is the impact of this with respect to estate planning and administration, right? So that is not what Kaplan does. They're there to provide foundational education for people engaged in this area. That's number one. And number two, for the average person who's just concerned about his own estate plan. So, to take Kaplan courses. Some of the stuff is very technical, which for a professional like me is terrific. But for someone who's a lay person, unless you have a background in these kinds of matters, it's going to be very difficult for you to understand. So, great content, but not up to date, and certainly it not geared toward the average person who needs to do their estate plan. So the American Bankers Association has a certification program, again, for, among other things, people who administrate trusts and estates. I haven't taken any of the classes. I know people who have. They tell me they're excellent. Okay. They are expensive. I was looking at getting the certification. I think it was going to cost, if memory serves, somewhere in the neighborhood of $6,000 or $8,000. Okay. Now, for someone like me who practices in the field, that may be a good investment. But for someone who doesn't, that's a lot of money. And again, the material is highly technical, as one would expect from a course put together by the ABA, number one. And like Kaplan, they're not making frequent updates to their coursework based on changes that happened, a couple of weeks or a month or two ago. It's not part of their program. They're looking to provide foundational knowledge. And so, again, from all I hear, excellent program, but not what's necessary to keep up to date with changes. So another source, and this is so I belong to an organization called the Independent Trustees Alliance, ITA. Now they do programming. In fact, that was where I did my continuing education for my most recent license renewal, because I have to do that every year. And in that case, the material is a little more up to date, but most of the material comes from their annual conference. So if anything has changed in the last year, almost for sure, or I'm sorry, if anything has changed since the last conference, it's not going to show up in the material. Okay, the ITA is not doing those kind of frequent updates, and in some cases the material is more than a year old, and so again, it's not keeping up. Now, it's more timely, I would say, than Kaplan or the ABA, but it's not looking to be foundational the way Kaplan and ABA are. It is looking to be more timely, but it's just not as nimble. Nimble is the word I was looking for before. It's just not as nimble as the content providers that you'll see on PTTV. And so, having gone through all of this, and by the way, I don't mention this very often, but I have a real estate license here in California as well, and I need to do my continuing education to update that license come next year. And I've looked high and low for continuing education on handling real estate and probate that would qualify here in California, and cannot find anything. Literally nothing. I talked to my friend Bill. He said, "Yeah, there's nothing out there." Right. So, in some cases, there is nothing on the subject, as in the case of the specialization of handling real estate and probate. And so, for all of these reasons, I decided to put together Probate and Trust TV to bring to you, whether you're a professional or someone who's going through his own estate planning process, the most timely content that you can find, so you can stay up to date. There's probably not, even on Probate and Trust TV, by the way, there's probably not much content beyond my friend Bill's video talking about the changes brought about by the recent tax legislation that will explain that the estate tax exemption now is $15 million for a single person, 2 times that, $30 million for a married couple, right? That change is so recent, roughly a month old, right? It hasn't filtered through most. And the fact of the matter is, it's a little bit higher uh, than what it was going to be this year anyway, because the based on the Tax and Jobs Act of, I believe it was 2017 or 2018, the estate tax exemption was going up each year. It was around $14+ million under the old law, and so it was rounded up to $15 million now, and I believe it's now indexed for inflation or something like that. So, you know, it does take a little time, even for very recent things like that to show up. Nonetheless, um, when you see the content put together by providers on PTTV, what you'll know is that these are people who are keeping up to date, even if they haven't done a video on it recently, because we're all looking for good subjects to talk about, and we're looking to keep our viewers up to date. So those are the people that are more. I mean, I don't want to say that other professionals don't stay up to date, but you do know that these ones do, because they put in the effort to show you that that's a part of their professional ethic. And so Probate and Trust TV is there in order to showcase those of us who feel that it's important on a professional level to see to it that everybody is kept as well informed as they can be. And from my perspective, I'm sure you've all heard the phrase, what goes around comes around. So by helping out my fellow professionals, so then maybe there's some business opportunity that'll come from it down the road. You should know, and maybe I should have mentioned this at the beginning, no one pays to be a part of Probate and Trust TV. There is no amount of money that someone can pay to be on the channel. The price of being on the channel is doing good content. That's what it takes to be on the channel. So beyond that, this is no pay to play scheme or anything like that. It's purely to bring the best content providers to greater attention. So if you get any of the social media posts for this show, for example, you'll periodically see posts about PTTV that give you the link to subscribe. And I'm going to be hopefully expanding it. I'd like to do a series of interviews for the content providers, so you can meet them kind of one-on-one on the channel. And so that's something to look forward to in the future. And like so much of what's going on now in content provision, all of this will develop over time in a way that best serves the audience. That is one of the beauties of what all of us do. Is we don't do this in a vacuum. We're all looking to grow our audiences, grow our viewing time, but in a professional way. So you're not going to see vulgarity. You're not going to see gimmicks and such, trying to get people, trying to get eyes on the screen. You're not going to see that kind of content. I won't have on the channel. What I will have on the channel is content that will really help you as a professional, and help you if you are going through your own estate planning process. And I'll hasten to add that, of course, it's not something you do once and put on a shelf and forget about. It's an ongoing process, something that needs to be looked at and periodically reviewed. So for those of you who are regular watchers of this show, you know the various guests I've had on all emphasize that message. And so this is an ongoing venture, and one that I hope will really serve you. It harkens a little bit back, I guess, to my time as a chaplain in the military, right? That what is the point of a chaplain in the military? It's to serve fellow service members and their families, right? And so I think we all should consider how we can bring that element to our professional lives, so that we're not so mercenary that it's only ever about generating money or making a living. Of course, those are important, but how we do it, the context in which we do it, is equally important. And so I encourage you to check out Probate and Trust TV, PTTV. I would be honored to have you as a subscriber, of course. And I'll make a shameless pitch for myself. Normally I make it for my guests, but I'll make it for my channel now. But if you have any thoughts, comments, ideas, please share them. I'd love to hear it. This is about providing you with a tool that will help you be a better professional, or have a more sound financial life. So again, Probate and Trust TV. Normally I play the spot for PTTV on the show, so I'm going to wrap up by playing the spot and then come and say goodbye. Probate and Trust TV, your curated source for the most useful and insightful content on estate planning and trust and probate administration, featuring standout professionals like Bill Gross, Paul Brabelet, James Cunningham, and yours truly. Whether you're a lawyer, accountant, real estate professional, or working on your own succession plan, this channel helps you quickly find the clearest, most practical content YouTube has to offer. Subscribe now to Probate and Trust TV. Spend more time learning, less time searching. So I thank you very much for joining me today. And let's see, tomorrow at 10 a.m. is my show, Business Lessons from the Military. On Wednesday at 10 a.m., People Making Money. All the times, of course, are Pacific time. And then on Thursday is my every other week show, Jiggers' Place, at 5 p.m. We'll sit back and have a cocktail and talk about all the non-financial aspects of life. And I'll give you a hint about what this week's episode is about. There you go. So thanks again for joining me. Always a pleasure, especially to see my live viewers, to see the live viewers. Thank you so much for taking the time. And wishing you a wonderful rest of the day. Signing off as I always do. Marie, darling, you are my bell. Were your ears burning? I was just telling a friend about you just a few minutes before the show started. Courage at all, friends. Courage at all time, my friends.